YouTube tab open anymore. So yeah, whoever doesn't know me, I am Habib. I passed out from MJCET 3 months ago. So I am working as a software developer, as a web developer at a company called Mindtree. It is a subsidiary of the construction giant L&T. So what happened was, a year ago, we started with our placements, like you guys are going through it now, and we were like campus placements se ho jayega, sabko mil jayega and all. We were like chill, like the company comes, picks up everyone and goes off. So we were super chill and confident about it. 3 4 months passed. It was even the time of high pandemic. So okay, voice is repeating again. Someone just messaged me. Okay, if this problem persists, and given the fact that we have less members, we could shift to Google Meets. The problem with Google Meets was that there's a limit of 100 people. That's why we went for YouTube Live. But I guess we have 20 30 people only. So, like, let's shift to Google Meet, right? I'll post the Meets link in the WhatsApp and Telegram groups. Okay, see you all there. Okay. Some people are saying it's getting repeated, some are saying not. Could I get like a final? Okay. Apparently it's working fine. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Anyways, where was I? Let's just jump in with the PPT. Done with the stories and all. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen, right? 1 second. Entire screen. And here we go live. I guess my screen is visible. Okay, now it's clear apparently. Okay, could someone just post it in the WhatsApp group and the Telegram group that we are back live on YouTube and we won't be shifting? I guess people left because of that. Okay, so this is how I want the session to go. We don't want you to keep your doubts to yourself till the fag end of the video. Just whenever it comes up, post it in the chat. I'll stop at regular intervals and look on through it and try to clear as many doubts or queries as possible. Anyways, so yeah, uh, who are we? So we are a bunch of 2021 passed out IT graduates. We passed out like 2 months ago and are now working at different companies. Like some are working at Wipro, some are working at Infosys, and all the other major IT giants you might have heard about. So, in the past year, we've struggled a lot with our own placements due to many reasons. The pandemic was another challenge, but in general, placements for a person that is not well guided by someone else or is not well mentored struggles a lot. That's the difference between the tier 1 and the tier 2 colleges. We don't have much of a proper guidance and mentorship. So we struggled a lot in the past year, and it was really tough to reach out to your seniors because we didn't really have their contacts, and not everyone was willing to put up a lot of time to help you and all. So yeah, we've learned a lot of lessons and realized that we needed to make a change. We needed to help as many as people. Because if this year we are able to help people, you all, at least a 50, 40, 50 people, and then if that continues and you then go on to help your juniors, it just starts up a cycle. And you never know, it could change a lot of people's lives. And the last thing you want to fail in a career is due to lack of mentorship or guidance. So that was the purpose behind it. There's nothing else. We don't even know what we're going to do after this boot camp and all. We just wanted to help you all as soon as possible before your exam starts. So yeah, here we are. Okay, there's a need to there's a need for clarifications. A lot of doubts came in on what we are going to do in this 1 month long boot camp. And yeah, so I wanted to clarify a few things. What are we going to do? We aren't going to provide you jobs, because we are not recruiters, we are not a company, we're not a startup or anything. We're just a bunch of friends who are trying to help you. So we don't have jobs to give you jobs. And then what are we doing? We are doing weekend online classes. So that's like an hour and a half per day. So that's like in a week we hardly cover 2 to 3 hours. So it's not possible to go through everything, technical aptitude, and the HR, like everything in detail, in depth. So our intention is to like show you the right path, show you the provide you with the right resources, so that it's going to be like a 90% effort from your side and a 10% effort from our side. So yeah, that's I wanted to clarify it before we move further. So these are the people that are going to take your classes for another month. You could see they're all working at really good companies. You'll get to meet them starting from tomorrow. I'll just cover the intro session today, and from tomorrow they'll be taking different sessions for you, and they'll share their own personal experiences. You see one company name under their names, but they've gone through many interviews, at least 4 or 5 companies interview processes they have gone through, and they've learned a lot from there, and are willing to share the experiences with you. So yeah, uh, let me start by explaining you how the recruitment process works. Okay, so the first round, regardless of what company you are in, by the way, we are talking about IT companies. I've seen that we've got a few registrations from non-IT background also. But yeah, IT. How do I say this? Programming and the world of IT is something that your background doesn't really matter, and as long as you have the right skills, the right technical knowledge, uh, you could crack any interview regardless of which department you are. Like, just for an example, yesterday Deloitte came for a programmer's role, and they recruited a guy from civil. So uh, this is for the people who are from instrumentation, who are from electronics, and have self doubts that what am I going to do? How am I going to crack? Am I able? Will I be able to do that or not? I want you all to keep those doubts aside before you start off with this. So yeah, um, believe me, trust me. Even till my third year, I am from IT, but till third year, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't really have a grip on any programming language. It was just studying before the exams, clearing it, and that was it. So yeah, but I gave myself a few months, 4 to 5 months. The pandemic was a really good time to invest time, and I learned a lot of things, which we'll be sharing with you, and that's how things turn around. So whatever company you go in, the first round is always the written round, because uh, suppose a company comes to a college, there are 500 odd eligible people to sit in interviews. First of all, they usually sort it out using the GPA criteria. It's usually 6.5 or 7. That's the minimum. There are very rare companies that have high standards like 8, but most of the people prefer it around 7, 6.5. So if you are there, you don't have to worry about the first uh, step. The next step is always the written round. That is for the mass elimination. Like yesterday at MJCET, Deloitte came. They had asked 500 people to give the exam, and just shortlisted 75 out of them. So that is basically a mass elimination round. And the questions asked in are usually MCQs and a mix of aptitude and technical. No, the aptitude isn't very high level like in how you find in GRE or GMATs and all, or even your engineering mathematics is not asked. The level of maths is really moderate. It's of high school, 8th, 9th, 10th grade. But the challenge here is to solve it quick. You need to know the right tips and tricks to solve it fast, and there's a timer. Like, I bet, I challenge that everyone in this meeting right now, if they are given a aptitude question paper and asked to solve without a timer, they'll all score 75% and cross whatever the criteria that the company has set. But when a timer is added to it, and you're running against the clock, and sometimes when they add a little bit of negative marking in it too, it gets really really challenging. So you have to, throughout the traditional mathematical steps you follow to solve problems, and pick up the steps which give you shortcuts and all. Uh, I heard that the students of MJCET are getting trained by Face Prep for 3 hours every day, so that's really good. We were planning to have aptitude sessions too, but because of that, we've decided to put that on a hold and focus on technical. So maybe in the end, if you people ask for it, we'll have like a bonus session on aptitude. Anyways, that is usually the first round, the aptitude. There are usually some technical questions too. Technical question by technical questions I mean theoretical concept. Like, they might ask you question from OS, operating systems. They might ask you from computer networks. They might ask you from DBMS database, the SQL and all. So that is what happens in an aptitude round. In this pandemic, you have usually proctored screens and you have to give it online. Before, it was there was campuses and centers set up where you had to go and write these exams. So that is the first step. Regardless of how well you've studied in your engineering, regardless of how amazing your resume might be, how amazing your technical and programming skills might be, if you don't clear the aptitude, you don't get to showcase those skills. So aptitude is a really, really important aspect of the interview process. So I recommend that everyone get to it. And yeah, that's all for the written exam. Once you clear the written exam, the like top 20 people, top 20% of the people who give the written exam get shortlisted for the face-to-face interview. This is what we're going to focus on in this bootcamp. So there's a lot of things that will be asked. There's usually two types of technical interviews. One is something like you have the vivas in your college in labs. They ask you about the concept. They might explain, ask you to give the difference between C and C++. Ask you about friend function, virtual function, some theoretical concept they might ask you, and uh, give you scenarios like, what if you do this? Is this possible? Is that possible? And all. So yeah, that's one type of interviews. These are really simple, believe me, because questions are repeated regularly. There are like setup questions that are usually asked in interviews, and if you master those, there's no way you're not clearing these interviews. The next tricky part of a technical interview, and what sets apart really good candidates from the others, is the problem solving skills. Now, this is something you can't just learn in a fortnight. You can't just learn it in a 1 month boot camp. This is something that comes purely from practice. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter how much you know the syntax of the language, how much you know about the language or the programming, anything else. It all is secondary when it comes to problem solving. This thing requires a lot of practice, because our mind, when it starts practicing stuff, it starts to build connections. And with time and practice, when all the connections are strong, we are able to solve any problem that is given. We'll discuss in detail about these things in the coming sessions. Now, once you're done with this, there's a 90% chance that you've got the job. Only one little hurdle that is between you and your dream job is the HR, or what people usually call it as uh, personal rounds. Here, they don't care about the technical skills. They don't care about how smart or intelligent you are, because you've been tested and tried throughout the previous rounds. What they do is, how are you as a person? Because a company works in a team. There's people like 10, 20 people working together. So if there's even one person in the team that is like a bad apple, that doesn't play well with others, it spoils the entire team and the entire project. So they want to know how good you are in person skills, how well do you interact with others, how can you are you collaborative, and there are situations in companies where you have to make choices. So they gave you situational based scenarios, and ask what will you do in those scenarios. We'll also have a detailed discussion on the HR round uh, in the last class of the bootcamp. So you must, yeah. Let's move on to the on-campus and versus off-campus. Uh, if I'm going too fast or too slow, let me know so that I can adjust my speed. I usually just get in the flow and forget that I'm actually talking to someone. So yeah, apologies for that. Uh, Anyways, on campus is comparatively like what people are comfortable at. They don't really get scared of it because companies come to like घर को आके लेके जाने का वैसा है वो. So you don't really worry about on campuses usually. It's all internal competition. But if I've seen the registrations that has come to for this bootcamp. We have people from MJCET majorly. Then we have people from Deccan. We have people from Shadan. We have people from I guess Maheshwar or something college like that. And we all are from tier 2 or tier 3 colleges. We don't have big companies and what do you call product based companies come to our college. So if you want to land a package that is like really exceptional, that's like 20 lakh plus and all, you have to be well prepared for the off campus too. You just can't rely completely on the on campus interviews and just keep on trying that. There's always at whatever point of the year, there's always some interviews going off of some company for freshers as off campus. Okay, so a lot of people have this fear about off campus because it's a national level competition. Like people from all over the country will be applying for that role, and the competition is cutthroat and all, and we get really scared. But yeah, even I was like that. The concept like naam se dar hota tha off campus. Like there's no way I'm going to get a off campus job. I had that in mind, and ironically now. Where I'm working as at Mindtree, I got that job as off campus, and the people you saw on your screen a few minutes ago, around 10 people, out of which I guess 5 to 6 people have landed their jobs as through off campus, because due to the pandemic, we didn't have really a lot many on campus opportunities. So we had no other choice. We had to go for off campus. So I want to break that myth by my personal experience that off campus aren't as scary as they sound. They're really simple if you just get a knack of it and are confident enough. So I just told you about that. There are opportunities going on all the time. So how do you know? You can't really go on company websites and look for job opportunities. Like there are like 500 companies out there. You can't go on 500 websites, register on them individually, and just wait for your opportunity. That's not really comfortable or easy. That's what is the scary part, right? So with the advent of social media and technology, that process has gone super super simple. uh, and, and this is also one of the reason I was insisting you guys shift to Telegram. There are like at least hundreds of Telegram groups that regularly post any job opportunity of any field in their groups, and they don't charge or anything. There's just a group of people like I am right now in a group that has 70,000 people from all around the world. So whatever a job opportunity comes up, they put it in the group, and there are people who already working in those companies, so they share their own experiences. I'll share those links of the group with you people so that you join it and continually start applying for those off-campus opportunities while you are trying on campus. If you have any other doubts regarding this off-campus and on-campus, post it in the chat. I'll see it in a while and try to address those. Okay, I just mentioned product-based and service-based companies. We all know, I guess, most of us basically understand that product-based companies means good, service-based means not so good, maybe. Yeah, not even worse. It's just not so good, like how we perceive it. Why? What is the like basic difference between product based and service based companies? So I'll take an example, obviously, to explain you. I'll take my company's example, that is Mindtree. It is a service-based company. And if you take a company like Google, if you take Facebook, if you take Netflix, these are all product-based companies. So what is the difference between them? Product based companies, they both let me set that clearly, that they both, the service based company and the product based company, they both build products, they both do it. Now service based companies build projects for company specific, like customer specific, and product based are for like everyone. Like when Facebook launched Facebook, or maybe let's say Google launched Meets, the platform where we interact. When Zoom launched Zoom, it it made its product such that a majority of people, regardless of where they come from, regardless of which company they belong to, everyone has access to it, and everyone knows how to use it and all. It's not like a specific company specific or customer specific product. Whereas if you take what services Mindtree offers, it is approached by customers. Like for example, there's what do you call, maybe there's a shop like Bajaj. Let's take Bajaj Electronics. They want to go online, they want to set up their website. So where do they go? They are not from a technical background. You take Cisco, the lights and electronics guys. They want a website, they want a mobile application, everyone wants it. So where do they go? They all go to service based companies. They don't go to Google, they don't go to Facebook, they don't go to Netflix, they all go to service based companies. So the responsibility of these service based companies are to meet user specific requirements. Like they build a website specifically for Cisco, for their electronic product needs. When they are approached by Bajaj Finance, they make a website very specific to them. So service based companies make customer centric, customer specific products, and product based companies make general products that are widely accessible to everyone and doesn't have like target audience. So which is better? And as a software developer, which is better? As a fresher, as a student, you want to join one of these companies, which one is better? Hands down, it's product based. Why? Because product based are more challenging. You have to address a wide range of issues. Like in service based, the issues and the requirements are well defined, that you just have to make an electronics website. But in product based, you don't know what kind of customer is going to come and interact with you. So you have to make it accessible to everyone. There's a lot there are a lot of problems that arise, and these companies need problem solvers. That is why they focus a lot on the problem solving skills during interviews. And that is why product based companies employees earn more, almost double as what service based companies earn. And they have flexible working hours. This You might have heard through YouTubers and others that Google doesn't have a dress policy. Google doesn't have a working hour policy. You just have to get the work done. So product based companies are more lenient, more innovative, while service based companies also need the same skills. They both need, like if you take Java and both are developing products on Java, they both need skills on Java. They both need problem solving skills, but service based is a comparatively easier task than a product based. I hope I brought some clarity into this issue. Okay. So, what are how the interviews are going on, how the interviews will be going, what are the types of interviews, what are the kinds of opportunities, the off campus, the on campus, what are the types of companies and all. You know everything about that. Now, how do you start preparing for that? How do you crack any interview, be it product based or service based, be it off campus or on campus? The roadmap is same for all. I've divided a five-step process for this. The first is the aptitude, as you might have guessed, because as I said, all your other skills come secondary when compared to aptitude. Because if you don't clear aptitude, there's no chance you're going to get to showcase your other skills. The first one is the aptitude. The aptitude consists of maths questions. It also consists of English grammar questions, vocabulary questions. It tests you on the synonyms, antonyms. You just got to brush them up. It's not that tough. You just got to brush them up and have the ideal amount of practice for it. And there are also logical puzzles, which there's no textbook for solving a logical puzzle. like a brain teaser and all. You just have to practice. That's the only solution. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you don't practice enough. Once you are done, you could clear the first round and get into like the top 20% of the people that have appeared for the interviews. So you move on to mastering a language. Now, when it comes to languages, in our colleges, we are taught two languages majorly, C++ and Java. Even the electronics and other departments are taught at least C and C++. So there's a great debate around which language to choose from, C++, Java, or Python. I'll address that issue later. But for now, I want to say that you don't have to be a jack of all and master of none. You have to be a master of one. You have to either master C++, you have to either master Java or Python. It's your choice, it's your wish. Now, how do you make that choice? I'll help you with that in the later class, in the later. So these C++, Java, Python are like the tools. Once you are aware of how the tools work, how does a screwdriver work, where do you use it, and all. Once you get enough practice around it, once you get familiar with the syntax, you can move into the heart of programming, which is data structures and algorithms. A considerable amount of this bootcamp is going to focus on this aspect, the data structures and algorithms. This is the most drilled part in product based companies. They could ask you on data structures and algorithms for 3 hours straight. So that is how in depth you have to dive into data structures and algorithm. It is like the heart. Like in my first year and second year, the people used to be like, just learn C, you'll get an interview. You just learn Java, you'll crack an interview. But uh, that is just like a tool which you'll need. But what do you make of it? Like C++, Java, Python are like the ingredients of a recipe. You have to combine them. You have to use all the syntaxes properly and get on with data structures and algorithms. That is very important. Like basically what data structures are is like how the what do you call a program has memories and all, right? So how the memory is stored in how it is managed and all, that is usually taken care by data structures and algorithms. Coming to algorithms, programming has been for around 2 decades, and there have been a lot of commonly occurring problems in the industry, which keep happening, which is often encountered everywhere. So some people have made algorithms. Algorithm is basically a step-by-step process of how to solve that problem. So they've devoid that solution, and it is called an algorithm. So you just use already. You just basically you don't have to invent the wheel again. You don't have to invent the fire again. It's already all there. You just got to use it. So that's what data structure and algorithm is. It's basically the heart of the entire software developer's life. So you got to be really good at it. So once you learn data structures and algorithms, you got to practice. The what I was calling problem solving skills and all, like you are given problems and you have to solve them using the data structures and algorithms, which in turn use C++, Java, and Python. So how do you practice and the practice of and application of data structures and algorithm basically called comparative coding, which also is again a phenomena that sounds very scary, but it isn't once you start practicing. The first month is a real struggle. I'll be honest about that. You won't have an idea of what's going on. You won't be able to solve problems. You won't be able to solve programs. But once you get into that habit, once you keep doing it consistently, it will be like something you'll truly start enjoying it, even if you used to hate programming like me. So I've mentioned a few websites: HackerRank, HackerEarth, and LeetCode for you to get on with it. HackerRank is a beginner friendly with a great UI where you could go and practice basic levels of programs. And then LeetCode is a platform which has like tons of questions which have been asked in interviews. So it is a very very great platform if you're going to try for product based companies or even service based companies. Now, once you are good with all this, there are how many subjects did we study in engineering? I guess 40, 45, 50. I don't know. But believe me, out of these 40, 45 subjects, only 4 or 5 subjects are really important in the process of getting selected for a company. And now these theory concepts aren't asked by every company, but yeah, a considerable amount of companies have questions based on these. Now they might ask you as in a form of viva in technical interview, or they could ask you in the written exams, which are like OOPS, networking, database, and operating system, which we'll cover soon, which we'll cover in the bootcamp too. So yeah, I've been talking about the boot camp a lot, what all we're going to cover and all, and you might want to have a look at how the schedule is going to have, so that you have a basic idea until what date what all will be covered. So if my mouse is visible to you, if not, just look at the week one row. This is like the 14th August today. The aim of today's session is the course introduction, what I am doing right now, and in the end I'll try to get you an idea about choosing between Java and C++. So that is being taken up by me. Tomorrow we'll have like a brief session, and as I said, I want to give that disclaimer again. We aren't like suitable to cover in depth knowledge of each and every thing you see on the screen, because we have timing constraints and all these require a lot of efforts from your side. So we are going to guide you to the right path. We're going to show you the roadmap, and hopefully if you would stick to it and follow it, you'll be able to crack our interview. So yeah, tomorrow we'll go through OSC and DBMS OOPS concepts, and what projects you need in your what do you call resume. It will be covered by Saad. You'll meet him tomorrow, hopefully. He's a really great person to learn from. So yeah, make sure that you ask a lot of doubts from these all people actually, and get as many what do you call insights from them as possible. So yeah, then for the next 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on data structures and algorithms and problem solving. Hopefully, in these sessions, we'll give you a basic idea about what arrays are, what strings are, what matrices are, sorting and searching, and all the other concepts. We'll give you a very brief idea about them, and then we'll mainly focus on the approaches on how to solve these things. On like how do you learn about these things, how do you practice about these things, how do you approach it, and how do you finally present it into your interview. That's all we're going to focus on primarily, and we expect you to know basic ideas about them. If not, we'll provide you with the right resources in order to get those. So yeah, the next 2 weeks we'll be focusing on that, and then on Saturday we'll have a web development session, which will cover HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Interviews that are looking for web developers, they look for these skills. I am working as a web developer in my company, so I was asked a considerable amount of questions on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I'll tell you, this is the most amazing and fun part of the programming industry and all, because whatever you do in these other things, Java and C++, you don't really have an immediate result, an immediate outcome of that. You don't get to see beautiful UIs and all, but in web development you'll get to see it. You'll get to see a website becoming your own, yeah, and you'll feel worthwhile. You'll feel really good about that. This is like my personal favorite, and I wish I could have taken this session too, but there's a lot of good people around here, and they are also they are now even more better equipped to train you guys, because even in these companies they're working, they're getting trained on these topics again. They've already done it in college, they've already done it on their own before recruitment, and now they're getting trained by more advanced people from industry on these topics. So all these people you see as in the mentors and support list, they are really good at it right now, and they'll share you the actual difference between what the reality of the software industry is and what are we taught actually in college. And then in the last session, we'll cover the HR on fundamentals, where we'll discuss about networking, how to use LinkedIn, how to apply off campus, on campus, how to present yourself in interviews, commonly asked questions, and how to tackle them. And we'll yeah also look through your resumes and see what could be done there. So you don't need to take screenshots of this and all. I'll share you the PPT after the session in our groups. If you haven't joined the Telegram or the WhatsApp is full, by the way. Join the Telegram group. I'll someone could post it in the chat for others. So I'll share all the resources from there, the off-campus opportunities group, the PPTs of all the sessions, and all the other resources that we've gone through to prepare all this. Okay, so let's like maybe take 5 minutes of break before we start off with the C++ and Java topic. It's a very short one. It will take around 15 to 20 minutes, but let's maybe just take a 5 minutes break, 3 minutes maybe. We'll get back at 7:55. I'll catch my breath till then. Okay, right now I'm going through all the comments that have come up, and if there are any queries and all, I'll just try to clear it at best. So yeah. Mm, okay, the Telegram group link will be shared soon in the group. And what are the skills required for off-campus interviews? Does it require additional projects and additional skills? No, not really. The only skill that you will require to crack any interview primarily is the problem-solving skills, which comes up after a lot of practice. And yeah, if there are any doubts, also before we move on, I had a lot of queries coming up in the registration form. I will try to clarify those as well. So yeah, let me just share my screen. Uh, I hope it's visible. Also, by the way, I would like to congratulate you all that you've taken a lot of effort to join in, have patience in these starting and all. And yeah, that is what's going to set you apart from the rest of the people. We had like, it's easy to register a form, fill up a form, but it requires a considerable amount of effort to sit at your screen and give an effort to make your life better. So see, as you see, we had like 200 odd registrations, and what we have like 30 35 people joined. So yeah, let me try to clarify a few questions here. How to get placement and service based, we discussed. How to clear coding test and recruitment drive, that is what we're going to focus on in the DSA and the uh, problem solving sessions. Uh, the next is how to prepare for job interviews for candidates with non CS background, quickest way to get job interviews. Okay, getting a job interview is a different thing, and preparing for it is a different thing. For non CS backgrounds, as I said, there are like a limited amount of subjects you need to focus on. You don't need to completely study the what do you call the computer science degree to clear a job interview. You need to just get in with uh, 3 to 4 theoretical subjects and just one language and data structures. That's all. Okay, what are the areas? I guess we discussed that. Any placement for mechanical engineering. I won't, as we said, we won't be giving you jobs. We could just provide you with the right resources. Okay, I need to build up my resume for the future interviews. Yes, we'll cover that in the last session, in the HR round session. Is coding must for IT sector or enough with one language? Uh, Coding obviously is like mandatory. It is like what IT programmers basically do. One language, yes, one language is enough. Just master one language. No queries, interview preparation. Yes, that's what we are focusing on. Need help and guidance with competitive coding? Yes, we could do that too. Could you please recommend us some platforms where we can learn every topic, subject, skills for a person to crack an interview, exams, and etc.? If you share some sources, that would be great. Yes, yes, yes. We would be doing that. We would be sharing YouTube links of great people that are sharing a lot of knowledge and in-depth coverage of topics. We'll be sharing you those links. We'll be sharing you with the PDF and notes, if possible, of a lot of commonly asked interview concepts and all. Timings, it will be the same. Hopefully, if there's any change, we'll inform you. It will be usually from 7 to 8:30, and that is from the response we got from you from the form we had. And people demanded that the session had evening, otherwise I had plans for morning. Anyways, service placement, mechanical field, with resourcement require. Yes, we'll do that. I am a 2020 pass out. You could still get a job, but you'll be looking for off-campus opportunities, and I'll get you the group links where off-campus are getting. Will I be getting my career job based on my studies? If you are from a CS and IT background, or whatever background you are from, there are enough jobs for everyone. So if you are good enough, there's no one that could like deny you a job. That's for sure. Yeah, it might take time. You need to be very patient in this recruitment season. Like I had a lot of my friends getting recruited, and I was the only one left at till just a few months ago. It could get depressing, but you need to be really patient, trust yourself, and keep practicing. The right opportunity will come at the right time. Okay, what would be getting to learn? What are the timings done? Covered that question. Preparation for placement. Can this help me level up my skills? This can help you guide on how to level up. Leveling up will be completely on you, on how much you practice and how much you invest time. Is it a paid camp or free? Of course, it obviously free. We don't intend to charge you guys with anything. As we've said, our intentions are clear. We just want to help our companies pay us enough to cover our livings. Is there any possibility without coding skills for on campus? No. You have to have at least basic level of coding. Okay, someone just filled up the form again, I guess. Yeah, at least you need to have basic levels of coding skills, and the higher you have, the better company and better package you'll get on with. And people with EC and EI, you don't need to worry a lot about that. The people coming up for recruitment and interview, the guys taking the interview know that you are from EI, they know that you are from EC, know that you are from mechanical or civil, and you are still putting up efforts to learn coding. So they won't like drill or torture you a lot on these topics. They'll ask you about the things you know, because what they want is a person that's really adaptable and willing to learn whatever comes in their way, because they'll train you after you join, regardless of what company you join. They'll provide you with a training from scratch, where you learn things. So if you prove them that you are willing to learn by proving that you have basic coding skills, like you've done your part and are willing to learn more, if provided with the right platform, then companies will take you up. Okay, I'm already. Yeah, obviously you can. Is this an online? Yeah, it is. How? Yeah, YouTube lives. Whew. So we're back. I guess I can now move on. I'm still sharing my screen, right? I'll just share my camera too. Huh. The age-old debate: C++ versus Java versus Python. If you go onto the internet community, if you go onto YouTube and look for these answers, the community is basically divided by two. Some of them strictly ask you to stick to Java or C++. Some of them say that Python is acceptable. Now, who are these people? The people asking you to is giving telling you that it is okay to stick with Python are people usually not from India. They're from abroad, working at really great companies and from really great backgrounds. but the reality in India is a bit different. Freshers don't really get jobs into Python related departments. Where do we use Python? We majorly use it in data science and machine learning. These are jobs usually reserved for people with a lot of experience already in the programming world, because it's a very complicated and very advancing field. So they usually reserve these jobs for senior people, and so your Python skills won't be really tested in these what do you call interviews and all. Obviously there are companies that allow you to program in Python, but there are also companies that just put a restriction that you could either code and solve problems in C++ or Java. There are both of the companies. So to be on the safer side and to appear for majority of the companies, I'd recommend you to stick to C++ and Java. And also another fact, if you learn and get really well with either C++ or Java, it will take you like hardly 20 days to master Python. Why Python isn't like much preferred is Python is really simple to use for new beginners. It is very programmer friendly. It has a lot of predefined libraries and functions which you can just call up and use. You don't really have to solve a lot of problems. It's already solved and present in the form of libraries. But in interviews, people want to see you solving those problems. So if you use Python and just use a predefined library, there's no meaning behind testing you for anything, right? So not all. I clear that again. Not all companies restrict you to C++ Java. There are companies that let you program in Python also, but C++ and Java is always preferred. So C++ or Java, what do you choose? Uh, I chose Java, and of no particular reason. C++ and Java are like equally useful and very much relevant in the industry. And I'll tell you another fact about another mythbuster between reality and what do you call the college life, what we see. Regardless of what you are trained in, I was really good at Java. I learned Java and gave my interviews in Java. But when we joined the company, around 700 people with me joined the company, and all of them were asked to learn basics of C++. All of them were asked to learn basics of Java, regardless of where they came from. And then, according to business demands, they divided us into teams: a team of web developers that learn JavaScript, a team of Java developers that learn Java, a team of .NET developers, a team of C++ developers. So it didn't matter if you were proficient in Java or C++. I was really good at Java, but I wasn't given into the Java team. I was given into the JavaScript team, though I had like basic idea of JavaScript. Now, why does that happen? Because throughout the interview process, they've tested how you are as a person, how you are at learning, how well do you learn when you learn something. So when they trust you enough that you could learn whatever is thrown at you, they recruit you. So you should be that adaptable. And software development is an industry that is really fast paced. C++, Java are like maybe even gone in a few years, maybe 10 years, 15 years. You can't just expect to work on any of these one of these languages throughout your life. This is a very fast-paced industry, and if you want to be relevant in this industry and have a good career, you have to be really adaptable and willing to learn anything. So just start off with anything. Just don't really get into those debates on C++ or Java. Just get onto one thing. You just need to clear the interview. Then the company will take care of you on providing you with the tool that is required and train you in that. That is how I would recommend you guys to go. Now, in Java and C++. Java and C++ are like very wide languages. There are so many concepts, so many things to learn in a programming language that you just simply can't completely master it. Even the senior developers that I am working with, my colleagues are working with, they can't really call themselves as the master of Java. It's a very wide language, a wide with a wide range of libraries in C++ and all. So you can't really know everything and everything anything. So interviews usually stick to a couple of topics, like the main important topics, and they'll ask you questions from that. So if they're like a list of a few topics, if you get comfortable with them really well, then you could crack interviews. You don't have to learn the Java or C++ completely. So here are the topics of Java that is commonly asked in an interview. If you master these 10 topics, again, you don't need to take a screenshot or anything. I'll share the material with you people. If you master these 10 topics, you could literally crack any interview. I'll try to cover a little bit of these topics today. And if you want me to cover any other topics, and I'll provide you the resources for the other topics. If you want me to cover any other topics, just let me know on any of these WhatsApp or LinkedIn or anywhere. I'll try to fit in any session if possible. So yeah, the first one is oops. Like this is something you really need to be good at, regardless if you are a Java programmer or a C++ programmer, because these both are object-oriented languages. So you need to understand the basic four principles of OOPS, which are like abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. I'll try to cover these today. Then the basic syntax and all comes, the loops, how these loops works, how are they different from each other, what are their purposes. Like you can't say one loop is good or better than the other. They are all designed for different purposes, so you need to know what is the purpose of each loop, where to use which loop and all. Then you need to know the basic know-hows of constructors, the access specifiers, the and all, and the data types. Then another important concept which is usually neglected is the string handling. I'll try to cover that too. And Java doesn't have a library, but it has a wide, it has a huge collection framework, and it will take you at least a week if you want to learn everything. But you don't have to go through everything. I'll tell you which are the important topics, even in collection frameworks. Then there comes multi-threading, exception handling. I hope you've heard about these topics. If not, I'll cover a few topics of these and provide you with the right resources to go on to cover the others. So let's start with the OOPS concept, the data abstraction, encapsulation, and all. So what is encapsulation? Okay, as the name suggests, I'll maybe like okay, uh, before object-oriented programming, we used to go and we used to learn procedure-oriented languages, the procedure paradigm which C uses. So, how does the program structure in that? There are a bunch of functions, there are a bunch of variables, and they all interact with each other. They communicate with each other, and it all gets messy. And that is what is called as a spaghetti problem too, because of all the interrelations, interconnects without proper structure. So that used to happen before the object-oriented programming. Now here in encapsulation, what we do is collect a specific the similar functions and similar variables and put it into under one banner, which is usually a class. So, for example, if you maybe take a car, what are the functionalities of a car? There are brakes, there are accelerator, there's gearbox, and all these are the functionalities. Car is not a program, but if you write a program on a car, these are the functionalities. So they are grouped together, and the class is called car. So basically, this grouping together is called encapsulation, and the relevant related variables like the speed and all these are not functions. They are the specifications of the car, the color, and all these variables are part of that class. So car is a class, and what do you call, if you take a school is a class. School has its own functionalities, it has its own methods, it has its own variables. So that is like a basic concept of encapsulation. We use classes, we group together functions so that they don't get messy. So related functions interact with their own own class methods and all. So yeah, that is how encapsulation goes. The next concept is abstraction. Okay, so even in a single class, there are multiple functions, and there might be situations where one class wants to interact with another. For example, a human, a person, a driver wants to interact with the a driver class wants to interact with a car class. So if you go and sit in a car that doesn't have a steering wheel, that doesn't have a gearbox, that gear handler, it doesn't have all those paddles, what will you be doing to drive a car? You'll be connecting wires, you'll be like uh, doing something and all that is very, very complicated, and nothing will make sense, right? So when two classes want to interact with each other and you want to make that process simpler, you use abstraction. What is abstraction? The interface through which a driver interacts with a class car. There's a steering wheel that hides all the functionalities of how the steering wheel works inside. You don't know how the engine works inside. A layman doesn't know it, but it knows how to drive a car. So that is the purpose of abstraction. It wants two classes to interact with each other without knowing their own complicated functionalities. You take a remote, for example. You take a mobile phone, for example. The screen is an interface. You don't know how touch are forwarded and worked on inside, how an app opens up just on a click, but you know, a layman knows that it does that. That is the purpose of abstraction. It makes the interface simpler. Okay. So the next concept is inheritance. This is like the easiest concept because there are a lot of real life examples which you can take. The one I'll be taking is, if you are aware of form, an HTML form. It has what does it have? It has text boxes. It has select tags. It has check boxes. So what all do they have in common? They could all have clicks. Okay, for people who aren't from IT or CS background, let me take a different example. For example, consider you need to know two phenomena: parent class and a child class. So there are two types of classes: a parent class and a child class. Child class. So basically, the child class inherits functionalities from the parent class. What does that mean? So a parent class can be a car class which has like basic functionalities and methods defined in it. And then in these child classes, there could be a class on BMW, there could be a class on Mercedes, there could be a class on Toyota, and all these have something in common. What's common in them? All of them are cars. So the common methods are collected and put in a common class known as cars, and the uh, company specific, the BMW specific features are implemented in the child class. So that is like the relation between the parent and child class. Like how even in relations, you get your some common functionalities from your parents. Like a human child gets human features, an animal child gets animal features. Then they have their own characteristics and all. So that is basically what inheritance is. Polymorphism. This, because it sounds like a foreign word, many people get confused about it, but it's really simple. Poly means many, morphism means forms. It means many forms. So basically, if you take the car example again, so if let's see, what do you take? If you take the car class, the parent class, it defines that every car has a roof. Now the kind of roof is different for every car, right? A BMW might have a soft top, or another car might have an open top or something, another car might have a hard top. So what's common in all of them? They all have tops, but they have different forms of tops. So the basic top is defined in the parent class, and then all of them have their own implementations. For example, if let's take a programming example. Let's take a calculator. If you had to make a calculator using programming languages, using coding, what would you do? You would make a parent class called calculations. You'll take two variables in it, a and b. Okay, I'll just take a 5 minutes break, Zawari, and we'll join as soon as this ends. Okay, I am back. Hope you all are still here. Hmm. No issues as I see in the comments, and I guess we can move on. We can go on. By the way, this live video is going to stay on this channel. You could come back and watch it at any time. If I'm speaking too fast, you could just slow it down with the help of these huge YouTube features. And if you feel I'm going too slow, you could just increase the speed and watch it at any time at your convenience. Anyways, so let's resume with our. Whoops, my laptop's going to get dead. Huh, not responding. Apologies for that. Okay, yeah, we're back. Why do I keep going there? Okay. I guess polymorphism was, yeah, I was talking about the calculator. If you had to implement the calculator app using coding, so what do? The calculator app takes two variables. Now you might want to perform addition, you might want to perform subtraction, you want to perform anything that involves two variables, right? So you'll make a general class called calculator, which accepts inputs A and B and returns a the variable result. Okay, so uh, now depending on what is asked, every child class, be it let the child classes be addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So they all, like their parent classes, will take the two what do you call uh, two variables and return back the result. The addition will give you the addition result, the subtraction will give you the difference, and multiplication will give you the product. So that is what polymorphism is. Basically, when there's a class that is defined in the parent class, and all other classes, the childs have their own implementation. That's polymorphism. Like that function has many forms, right? Okay. So why do these are the individual advantages of each concept of the OOP? The encapsulation obviously reduces the complexity and increases reusability, because when you encapsulate a class together, encapsulate the functions and variables together, you can use that class as a package anywhere. The abstract is reduced complexity. You don't need to worry about how the remote or the car works from inside, and it isolates the impact changes. Now inheritance eliminates the redundant code. Like you don't have if you are building like individual classes like the BMW, Mercedes, and you have to define everything again, but you have a common class with all the common functionalities of a class. You would define all at one place, which will eliminate the redundant code, and all of them can use it from there. Polymorphism, yeah, the ugly switch use cases. Anyways, okay. These second concept that I said, which is like usually overlooked, is the string handling concept. Now, in Java, there are two ways of what do you call declaring or defining a string. The first one is on the first box you see string str1. So str1 is the variable name which is of type string. So this is called the literal declaration, and it assigns a value abc. Now if you go into the third box, which is string stre equals to new, it uses the new keyword and abc. Now this here, it isn't creating a literal, it's creating an object. New keyword is used to create objects of the string class, which is defined by the makers of Java or other programmers already. So we are just creating an instance of that object. So these there are the we all know that these are the two types of. Okay, did I not share my screen? Oops, sorry. I am really sorry about that. Some error has occurred apparently. Is it now? Present now on your entire screen. I'm really sorry about that. I didn't realize. Anyways, I guess it's now visible. What we just went through this slide, the polymorphism, where I explained the calculator example, and then we discussed the advantages of OOPS, and yeah, we moved on to the string declaration type. I'll go through this quickly once again. There are two types of declaring a string, which is the first one, the one which you see in the first box, str1, which is of type string. It is called a string literal, and creating a string object. They both store the values ABC, but the method in which they are declared is different. Now, there are two ways. Why are there two ways, and how does it work internally? Because these are the things. These that they are the two. There are two methods everyone knows. But what you need to know, what an interviewer expects you to know, is what happens internally. So, in a what do you call it? Computer's memory, there's a heap allocated for strings. Okay, the blue box you see is the entire heap, and as you know, memories are of two types: heaps and stack. And for declare variables, heap is used. So inside the heap, there is something called a string pool. So all the literals which you declare are stored in string pools, and all the objects. My screen isn't still visible, is it? Oh, it is. Anyways, someone messaged me that. Anyways, so yeah, uh, the string objects are stored in this open part of the sorry open part of the heap. So what? How do they work? If you declare a string variable, string literal, string str equals to abc, it first of all looks into the string pool. Is there already a memory that has the value abc? So when declaring str1, it realizes that there is no already existing memory which has the variables abc. So it creates a new one. It creates a memory space, allocates a memory space, and stores abc in it. Now again, when you declare another variable str2 and allocate it with the same value abc, now programmers that are not really having the in-depth knowledge will think that there is being created another memory space where abc is stored, but that isn't the case in java literals. What happens is it goes and looks if abc is already existing in the memory space. If it is, it points to the same location. So both of them have the same addresses. Both of them point to the same memory location. That is what happens in string literals. But if you want to create two different if you want to have a different memory space for the second string literal, you use objects. That is the primary difference between both of them. When you want to have two variables of the same value but different addresses, different references, you use objects. So in str3, regardless of an ABC being existing in this string pool, or if it is even existing in the heap, it creates a new one, and it has its own differences. Now, when you want to compare strings, if you want to compare str1 and str2, if you want to compare str2 and str3, you'll find the differences being drastic. Like if you compare str1 and 2 using the equals to operator, it will result in true. But if you compare str1 and str3, it will return in false, both though the values are ABC. Now, naive programmers won't have this idea, and when they try to compare it and it returns false, they get confused, because that is what differentiates a good programmer from a normal programmer. You need to know how things work inside, how things work inside a computer. That's why we learn things like networking and operating systems and all. So yeah, now why is there a difference? As I said, these literals point to a memory location, and when you compare str1 and str2 using the equals to operator, it compares the memory locations. Now, when they are pointing on the same location, it returns true. But when you compare an object and a literal, it doesn't compare their values. It compares their references, also known as their addresses. When the addresses are not same, it returns false. But how do you get about it? Like you want to know the equals to operator is doing what? It comparing the addresses. But if you want to compare the values, if you want to know if abc is equals to abc, If you want to know that, you use something called an equals method. The second one, as I said, there are two ways to compare strings, using the double equals to operator and using the equals method. The double compares the reference of an object, the similarity in memory, not in values. Therefore, if a string A and B refer to the same literal in the string pool or the same reference to an object in the heap, then A equals to B will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Now, if you want to compare their values and not their addresses, you'll go on to go on to using the equals method. It is there. As I said, there's a class called string that is already defined by the Java operators and the Java programmers, the developers, and all. Uh, they already have the definition of equals. You just call it and use it using the dot operator. Now, when you compare, if you like compare str1 and str3 using the dot equals to function method, then it returns true. So that is what happens in string handling. So we've covered the first one, oops concept, and we've covered string handling. Two is something you have to go through your own. Four is a lot of four, five, and all. These are all lot of theoretical concept and very easy to understand if you go through it. I'm just trying to cover the tricky concept like the string handling one, and I'll cover these keywords which are always very super confusing and very commonly asked in interviews. So let's move on to that and discuss the difference between final, finally, and finalize. Okay, they are very intuitive if you understand it using the English language. Final. Final is a keyword that is used to define variables. For example, you want to declare a variable in the class called pi. Now, pi has a fixed value, 3.147 something, which goes on. It has a fixed value. That value doesn't need to change throughout in the program. So you declare that variable as final. Final int equals to or final float equals to final float pi equals to 3.14. That is the purpose of final. It makes sure that if anyone tries to redefine it in anywhere else in the program, uh, it will throw up an error. Whereas if you don't declare a variable final and just say a equals to 3, you could change the value of a later in the program. You could just say a equals to 5 and the value changes. But that doesn't happen with final variables. So that is the basic idea behind final. Now coming to finally. Finally is a block. Let's see. I hope everyone is aware of the concept of try and catch blocks. So what happens in programming is there are situations in which there occurs an error of such a caliber that it crashes the program. Usually errors just stop the program and just put out that there is an error, but these special errors called exceptions crash the program. So these sensitive if you have like 100 line code, you know that such an exception or an sensitive error could happen between line 5 and 7 maybe. So you put these line 5 to 7 in a try block. So what does a try block do is it basically make sure that if something happens inside it, it doesn't crash the program. It goes to the catch block. If line 5 to 7 create an error, it goes to the next block, which is the catch block, and the catch block basically catches the error and manages it. So regardless of an error happening or not, there are situations in which you want an block to execute. So for example, let's take the most commonly example which is used in try, catch, and finally blocks are is the division by zero error. When you try to divide a number by zero, the value is what do you call it comes at infinity, it comes at undefined, it basically throws an exception. So when you ask user values of two numbers that needs to be divided with each other, we don't know if the user might provide a value zero or not. So we put the division code inside the try block. Now, if the user provides normal numbers like 3 and 5, 5 and 10, it basically executes in the try block, gets out of it, and continues, ignoring the catch block. Now, if user provides a 0 in one of the values to be divided, it throws an exception, and that exception is cached in the catch block. So finally, basically moves the implementation order. It gives it to the catch block. It gives the control to the catch block, and catch block manages it. It basically sends out a warning message or something and makes sure the program doesn't crash. Okay, so there are two situations. A cache block might be used, a cache block might not be used, and an exception might occur, and an exception might not occur. So regardless of what happens, sometimes you want a block to implement, regardless of what happens. That code is written in the finally block. So we have a try block, under which we have a catch block, under which we have a finally block. It is like finally, whatever happens, finally you have to execute this. So as intuitive as it sounds, it really is. Basically, any code that you want to get it executed, regardless of what happens in try and catch blocks, you put that code in the finally block. That is what sometimes you want to just print out that everything has been covered, and the program has ended. You want to send out that message, you put that message in the finally block. So that's what happens in finally. Now finalize. I didn't cover the concept of garbage collection, but let me give you a brief overview of that. Sometimes when you create a program, you run it, variables get assigned, pointers get assigned, references get created, and all, everything happens. But when you end that program, all that memory that has been allocated needs to free up. All these values of a that were maybe assigned to some value during the execution of the code has to be brought back and cleared. Those memories need to be freed, because if every program at every execution keeps get blocking memory, we will run out of the memory. So that is the responsibility of a garbage collector. Garbage collector, it basically regularly goes through the program and makes checks if the purpose of any variable or pointer has been completed. If the purpose is done, it frees up the memory. That is called garbage collector. So when the garbage collector is freeing up the memory, sometimes you want something to happen before it ends, like final wish or the variable or something like that. So before the garbage collector destroys that object memory, you want a method to get called, which is called the finalize method. Like before everything is ending, you want to finalize stuff, right? So that is what the finalize method does. It gets you could write a code that you want to execute before an object that is of no use wants to get destroyed. So that is like the difference. I hope it's a bit clear, and the names are intuitive. They are confusing, but if you think about them, you could figure it out. Finally, and finalize. The next confusing things that happen in programming is the this and the super things. Okay, so we've been talking about inheritance, we've been talking about polymorphism, we've been talking about parent and child classes and all, right? We're talking there are times. So let's see. There are times where you define a parent class, you define a child class, right? Now you come out of both of them and want to call any of them. So this, okay, maybe not like that. I'll explain it in a better way. Suppose you are in a child class and you want to access the constructor of that child class, of the class you are in, of the object that is running through. You use this method. This method basically points to the current object's base class, sorry, the child class. Sometimes you want to access the constructor of the class you are in, of the parent of the class you are in, right? I'll take an example again of the car and a BMW. A BMW is a child class, a car is a parent class. Suppose you want to use the constructor of BMW in BMW, you use this keyword. But if you want to use the constructor of the general class called car inside the child class called BMW, you use super. It again is intuitive. This talks about the present object you are in, present class you are in, and super talks about the class you have inherited stuff from. So that is like the basic difference between user and this and super. You'll get better at it with practice. Okay, so I won't be covering the C++ topics because it's already been a very long session. I guess almost 1 hour 45 minutes. So these are like the commonly asked C++ topics. If you get familiar with them, you could clear most of these C++ interviews. And if I would like you to go through these topics on your own before tomorrow's class or maybe this week. And if you have any doubts, if any of these concepts are confusing, and you want a better clarity from me or any of the mentors that we have, you could reach out to us through the Telegram group or the WhatsApp group. You have our numbers. You could contact us on our Instagram page, which is scholar underscore script, and present your doubts there. We'll try our best. We can't promise because we work 5 days a week, and we have other stuff also, and we are trying to take out as much time as on weekends. So we won't be able to promise, but we'll give our best in clearing your doubts and all. So we'll like take a 2 minute. I don't think you will have a lot of questions, but we'll take a few questions if there are any in the comment section. No, Akhtar, this is not exclusive to MJCET. It's literally for anyone that wants to prepare for placements. That was all from my side. If you guys have any doubts, anything related to today's session about what we are doing here, about the bootcamp in general, you could just post it in the chat box or message me through any of these social media accounts I asked. So, do we have any doubts? Okay, great. I don't think, I guess we are all crystal clear. Maybe I'll post a feedback form in the group later so that you could let us know about our shortcomings and all, so that you could suggest us things to make this a better experience, because our intention is to help you guys, and if that isn't being done, we'll be disappointed. So uh, if there is anything you want us to improve upon, please let us know. I'll share the feedback form by tonight, maybe. You could, I'll post it as an anonymous form, so you don't have to like give your information. You could just say whatever you want. Yes, Aman, sorry. We'll be having the sessions on YouTube because it's going well, and it doesn't have any limit on the number of people or the duration, unlike the webinar apps like Meet and all. Yes, obviously. I'll share you all the resources and materials. Maybe not by today. Maybe by tomorrow at max. I'll share you with the right YouTube links and the PDFs and all which are necessary for today, which covers today's concepts. Okay, I guess that's a wrap. Uh, you could reach out to us at any time. I'll just post the Instagram username too. It's called scholar underscore script. You could reach us out on that or any of the admins of the WhatsApp and Telegram groups. Okay, that's all from my side. I really appreciate your patience in listening to me talk for like almost 1.5 hours. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Take care.